You know, guys, for the longest time, I thought 2024 was going to be the death of the DA. I thought the party was done. But with this thing right here, with this Moon Pact right here that they just announced, this might be a whole game changer in South Africa. But the big question that people have is Moon Pact enough? Are these political parties enough to actually go out there and unseat the ANC? And Moon Pact have already declared that they are not going to work with the ANC, they are not going to work with the EFF, and they are not going to work with the Patriotic Alliance. So some people have already said that the Patriotic Alliance, EFF, and the ANC must go ahead and start with the negotiations, because these guys have already demonstrated that they don't want anything to do with them come 2024. So will John Steenhuisen be the president of South Africa in 2024? That is the big question that a lot of people are asking right now. Because we know that the DA didn't start this thing only for the leader of Inkatha Freedom Party or the leader of Freedom Front Plus, Ronewald, to be the president of South Africa. I know they didn't start this Moon Pact on that basis. They started this Moon Pact to actually boost their own votes, because they know that the party, for the past 2 elections, the party has been going down. So guys, today I want us to look at 2 interviews. I have 2 interviews that I have for us today. The first interview is for this representative of the Moon Pact, and the other interview is from the ANC spokesperson. So the first interview that I'm going to play it's for this guy who actually believes that the Moon Pact has what it takes to actually unseat the ANC. Yesterday, we've heard President Ramaphosa saying that the Moon Pact is just a sideshow. It is not enough to unseat the ANC. South Africans love the ANC. Not my words, those are the president's words. So guys, do you believe that the Moon Pact can actually lead to the downfall of the ANC?
7 political parties have signed a pre-election coalition agreement. They've also publicly signed an agreement to contest the 2024 elections as individual parties, which will see them working together if they succeed in unseating the ANC. So this follows a 2-day national convention ahead of next year's election, and of course it's all around the multi-party charter for South Africa. Joining us to unpack the significance of this multi-party agreement is the president of one of those 7 parties, the UIM, and that's Neil de Beer. He joins us in studio. It's great to see you. Thanks for coming in, Neil.
Thanks for having us, Michelle.
And you know a thing or two about historic agreements, don't you? We're calling this a watershed moment. It's the first pre-election agreement of its kind in a modern South Africa.
Yeah, it is. It is dramatic.
Yeah.
But may I say, I think the hashtag that's running around, which is hashtag Charter24, has exploded. And I think it's because it's new. It's refreshing. It's something that we can look forward to, and I'm very proud of everybody there. It took a lot of hustle and bustle. But here's the news. It's going to work because it needs to work and because the people want it to work.
Yeah. 2 days of intense negotiations taking place this week, and that was after 3 months of discussions among the parties insofar as this Moonshot Pact is concerned.
I think I worked on the premise that the great Nelson Mandela said one day, don't look at what is our differences. Find what we agree on and build relations. And I think when we went in there, we are different politicians, different parties, different ideologies, but there are certain core things that bind us. And one of the most important one is, it's time to turn this country around. And let's not beat around the bush. We don't have much time.
The very, very short-sighted thing I will say, insofar as that photograph of all the leaders of the 7 parties is concerned, is, and you faced this criticism before, the fact that there is not a single woman. One of my colleagues in the industry, Ferial Hafaji, gave us some very important statistics around why that is a big failure of this charter. Single women lead most households in South Africa. Women registered voters outnumber men, and more women actually show up to the polls on election day.
Well, I'm very happy to say, if that is a...
But newsroom right now is starting with this American talking points nonsense. It is not about someone being a female or someone being a man. It's about people being capable to do their job. This whole thing of saying that you must have 2 men, 1 woman, 1 child, and like that thing, it doesn't work, guys. That thing, it doesn't work. If you really want something to work, you are going to look for people who are competent enough to do the job. You are not only going to look at the fact that those people are women or not. So I don't feel like them criticizing the Moonshot Pact for that. It's actually fair. It's not. It is not fair. What if those guys are the highly competent guys within their parties? So what should the party do? What should the party do? What should the party do? Because that is what the ANC has been doing right now, telling us that we've got such and such women, we've got this number of women, we've got this number of women, but many things, they don't work right now in South Africa. So are we looking into the identity of people, or are we actually looking for people who can do their job? I think right now South Africans want people who can do their job, but they don't care if it is a man, they don't care if it is a woman. They don't care.
A matter which I take as serious as I do. We are the only IEC registered current party in government that has a lady as a vice president, Fatima Abdul. And that's not because we wanted to say, but let us get women involved and show this thing about a picture with a woman standing there. That's utter rubbish. They deserve it. They earn it. With my vice president, she's actually the solid rock. 60% of the UIM voters are women. So I always look at it and I say, this is my attitude, if I may quote our quote on women. We don't count the women in the UIM. We make them count. And that is the way that we should go forward. But a shortfall there is, and it is unacceptable. And we must change that attitude that this is not a male-predominant industry.
And guys, it is funny for Herman Mashaba to go out of the Democratic Alliance, only for him to dedicate his votes for the Democratic Alliance after 2024. It is crazy, eh? I wonder what is that going to do to the base of ActionSA, because a lot of people actually followed Herman Mashaba for actually abandoning Democratic Alliance, but right now he's working again with the Democratic Alliance. I wonder how is it going to affect the base, especially for the ActionSA, because people thought that, okay, maybe right now we might have Mashaba without these guys actually pulling the strings behind him, but he's actually went back to the same guys. So I wonder how people feel about Herman Mashaba going and working again with the DA, knowing exactly that he went out of the DA, and many people followed him because they didn't want anything to do with the DA. But right now, the same people who went from the DA to ActionSA, they now have to work with the same guys that's in the DA. I wonder how is that shaping things up there in ActionSA, guys.
It shouldn't be, and we wait for them to rise. And we ask them, get involved, get out there, so that we can get them in leadership.
Was this one of the issues on the discussion table over the past couple of days this week?
It wasn't an issue that is based on the structure agenda, but you could clearly see the discussion was hedged on the fact that we have to actually turn around and go, this is 2023. This is an era where there should be no disparity about who's more qualified than who. We know they are. We know they are. And that's why we must work better. We have what we have, but that's not good enough.
Yeah. There's a saying by Meryl Streep. She says, if you want to talk about something, bring in a man. If you want something done, bring in a woman.
Amen. I'm there. I think my mom shared that as well.
Okay, let's talk about some of the resolutions that were taken over the past couple of days. And one of the big ones, certainly for the Democratic Alliance, insofar as concessions is concerned, is opening the doors to other political parties that share the same values, quote unquote, right? Who might those political parties be? And perhaps while you answer that, you can also tell us who would likely be excluded from being a part of this charter.
ANC and the EFF.
Outside of the ANC.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's also what...
This is exactly why the ANC and the EFF, they need to start talking, man. Julius Malema, maybe this is time to actually talk. Because they've already declared war against you guys. They don't want anything to do with you. They want nothing to do with the ANC. They don't want anything to do with the EFF. But the ANC and the EFF right now in the country, they are the most popular parties. So I'm sure if those guys combine, I'm sure they can run the country. So it is going to be so fun, guys. And what's going to make this whole thing fun is because these guys have agreed to work with each other before the elections are even held. They've agreed on positions. So I don't know how they are going to deal with everything once the election is being held. And what's going to happen with the parties that don't get as much votes as they anticipated. I wonder what's going to happen to that. Because I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen parties go into coalition before the election is even held. So I wonder. And how sure is this guy that the DA is going to exclude the ANC and the EFF? The DA and the ANC have worked together before. The DA and the EFF, they've worked together before. And if it gives the DA a chance to actually run South Africa, if bringing in the EFF is going to give the DA a bit of a chance to run South Africa, those guys are going to kick you out. Because that's what the DA wants. The DA wants to run South Africa. They don't care how they get to that. Which makes the whole Moon Pact thing a joke. Because like everybody knows that this is a grand plan for the DA to run South Africa. So if your party, Mr. De Beer, falls short, and they somehow manage to negotiate with the EFF for them to actually run the country, they are going to kick you out. The DA, it is going to kick you out. If your party runs short and they negotiate with the EFF and the EFF for some reason, or the ANC for some reason, agrees to give them power, they are going to kick you out. So maybe these parties, they also need to look at that, man.
One of your resolutions, yeah.
Because I say the following. It is not because we are choosing to pick a fight with them. It is not that we want to make them publicly public enemy number one. We should make the public number one. And our attitude at this current moment is, it's merely on the basis of let us do a check of where we are truly today in this country. And the people that brought us here, de facto, is the African National Congress, which I, by the way, was a 32-year member of since joining the struggle in '88. So I don't have a personal matter of grudge of the ANC. It's time they go.
And the other thing that the reason why the Moonshot they don't want to work with the ANC and the EFF is because the ANC and the EFF are actually preaching the policies that these guys hate. They don't want to think about nationalizing the land. They don't want to talk about nationalizing the Reserve Bank. They don't want to talk about nationalizing the mines. They don't want to talk about land expropriation. They don't want to talk about apartheid. They don't want to talk about the effects of apartheid. They don't want to talk about the economy. They don't want to talk about the fact that majority of white people are the ones who have land in South Africa, despite the fact that they are only 10% in the country. These are the issues that they don't want to talk about. And these are the issues that keeps the ANC and the EFF alive. This is the one reason why they don't want to work with these guys. So it goes like then I question IFP, like what is exactly that IFP is standing for? What is IFP standing for? Because if you are going to stand for black people, you are going to talk about the economy, you are going to talk about the issue of land. You are going to talk about these things that the DA doesn't want to talk about. And it is not like we want to criticize them on that. We don't want to criticize them on that, but we want to have conversations on that. The only thing that people have a problem with is that parties like the DA and the ActionSA and the Freedom Fund Plus, they want to pretend like everything it is good in South Africa. That's why they always preach unity. That's why they always preach all this nonsense that they preach. They don't want to talk about the fact that majority of black South Africans are not working. They don't want to talk about the fact that how is it possible for the minority to own majority of the land in this country. They don't want to talk about those issues. That is why the DA and ActionSA concocted this plan. This is the reason why Mashaba, this is why I say maybe Mashaba might fall short in 2024. Because a lot of people followed him after he exited the DA. But right now he's there with the DA, pledging to give the DA his votes. So if you are an ActionSA, if you are someone who wants to vote for the ActionSA, and you want Herman Mashaba to be your president because Herman Mashaba did such a wonderful job in Johannesburg, Herman Mashaba is not going to be your president. John Steenhuisen is going to be the president. So how do you feel about that?
It's time that they understand they were an absolutely great liberator, but in 30 years they couldn't become a government. The EFF to us is even a non-entity in discussion because where do they govern? So that's not the premise. We want to see people like Bosa, Rise Mzansi, the ACDP, and any other party at this current moment who shares that core value. And one of the main core values is to remove the African National Congress from government next year.
So outside of opening your doors to the parties you've just mentioned, are you outright petitioning those parties to join?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have sent invites. I think you will remember John when announcing at his conference the Moonshot Pact, which is now called the Multi-Party Charter. The invite was given to public. 6 parties immediately came. Then ISANCO now joined within the past 2 weeks. And we reiterated again in public at our media conference, the invite is not closed. If you are a party, if you are an organization in this country who thinks like us, agrees with us, and has the core value, you are absolutely open to join us. It's not a shut door.
So let's talk more about the exclusion of the ANC and the EFF. That's one of the important resolutions that were taken, right?
Yes.
To not go into coalition
Yes.
or working agreements with those two parties.
Yes.
If the ANC and the EFF then decide to work together
Yes.
for elections 2024, does that not pose a serious threat
No.
to the multi-party
Not
charter?
at
Of course it is a threat, man. It is a threat. He won't admit that. But it is a threat. If the ANC goes out there and works with the EFF, it is a threat to this whole $100 million party thing. It is a threat. I'm telling you guys. Because they know that right now, I don't know why a lot of people keep saying that the ANC is going to get less than 40%. I don't believe that the ANC is going to get less than 40%. I don't believe that. I don't believe that like right now, guys, the ANC is still popular in the country. If there's one thing that you really, really need to understand is that the ANC is still popular in the country. Yes, people have problems with the ANC. They don't like the ANC because a lot of these guys, they are corrupt. All of those problems. But at the end of the day, ANC, they still have a lot of supporters in the country. So if they combine with the EFF, which is more vibrant than all of those parties combined, it's a mess for these guys. But I know that he won't admit me.
At all, because it's a democracy. And you know politics. Politics is a slip and slide. It changes pace. This morning I walked in here ugly and now I've got makeup. We could change things if we really want to. The point that I'm saying is,
this is politics. We could change things if we want to.
coalition government is as brand new as when you got your driver's license. Your first milkshake, your waffle and taking your lady to a burger. We are in a new era in this country. Coalitions thus far has given us a bit of a pensioner ouch, but at the
and it is going to be quite interesting to see how these guys campaign. I can't wait to see their rallies, man. It is going to be so interesting to see how these guys campaign. Because with those rallies, it is going to demonstrate who is important and who is not. We're going to look at the keynote speech and all of that. It is going to be interesting to see these guys campaign. Very interesting.
End of the day, if there is an ANC out there who is now feeling around to the EFF, it means they are currently realizing they better start brushing their teeth.
I want to talk a bit about the issue of building trust, right? Because there were 20 areas, just according to the Mail and Guardian article that I'm referencing here, 20 areas where important decisions were made in the multi-party charter over this past couple of days. And those 20 areas go a long way in building trust between the members, the party members of this charter. These are parties that in the past would have violently, I would say, campaigned against each other in the past, and now are working together.
Sure. You know, I always try to contextualize stuff. I'm a pictures person. I was said yesterday about you, the Donald Trump of South Africa. I said poorer, but as blunt. I don't put things through a washing machine. I say it as it is. I like the truth. Refreshing, isn't it?
It is.
So here it is, plain and simple. We've got two things that are upon us. Number one, we have got the possibility of sitting as 7 parties currently, looking at each other and saying, I would really like to go for you tomorrow. Mm-hmm. But now we are in this charter, and we are saying to each other, isn't this a deja vu of a World War II moment, where prime evil was dictated as the Hitler of the world? The British were seeking friends to destroy prime evil. And look who came. Stalin, Russia. So here we sit as parties, not as equivocally separated like the French, the British, Stalin to fight.
I'm not going to ask you who's Stalin in the multi-party
No, please
charter.
don't.
Yeah.
I'll WhatsApp you later. But from my point of view, is we are in this, no matter our difference. We are here because we've realized if there are things that differentiate us, 3 might bind us. But what's the most important one? In 94, we voted to change a country. In 2024, we need to go vote to save a country. And that is a fact.
Let me ask you this, Neil, on the issue of trust. What kind of sanction does there exist between the parties who form this multi-party charter? If, for example, I'm a party that's a member, and post the election 2024, I make all kinds of decisions on my own. Was that discussed? What if I decide to go off on my own, despite the agreements we've made together?
And the nice thing is, we can learn, you know, I said yesterday, being an elder man, having served before 94 and after 94, I have told them, we must remember history, but we must not live in it. The great thing is we've got a track record to see where we're going in politics. The only difference is coalitions are popping up now. This is an absolute clear declaration that we signed yesterday. There were elephants in the room, and we had to cull them one by one. And that was many, as you know, about possible ANC, DA, EFF, ANC. They were really robustly chatted about. But the conclusion was, we are now in a charter, we remain in the charter, and obviously there are things of codes of conduct, matters of dispute resolution, like we have decided we will approach this as a business contract, where we have to sit down and say, if you're a partner shareholder in this, you all take equal participation responsibility. You know, it's always that one that I want to be the biggest shareholder in a thing, because when it wins, I go rah-rah, but when it actually goes down, then we say, yeah, but we were partners. No. Shh. We're not going to do that. Well,
the guy is lying, guys. We know that the DA is the majority shareholder there. The guy is lying, pretending like they are equal. The DA will never treat UIM or its XYZ. What's the name of his party? The DA will never treat him like equal, man. The DA will never treat him like equal. He's lying. We know that the DA is the majority shareholder, followed by maybe ActionSA, maybe then between Freedom Farm Plus and IFP there. But his party is way down there, man. We know that the DA is the majority shareholder, man.
We're going to say we are equal. And therefore, if one steps out of line, then this charter group must conform that party. And there are also matters of what we saw could happen. What if is there a dispute between each other? Do we bring in an ombudsman? And we said, no. The party leaders that we have here are mature enough that we can sit around the table. We've got this far over 3 months, and we shall come now. No one gave us a shot. They said the moon is too far. And yesterday, there we were. Now, that is all for today. To show the voters the 27 million, the 13 that did not care to register, and the 14 million that did register and didn't go to the ballot. That is good news. We've got 27 million voters. Potential. I love potential.
Neil.
I'm not sure about 27 million votes, man. Honestly, guys, I'm not sure about the potential of getting 27 million votes, man. But it's a good thing to be optimistic. And I know that a lot of people have actually been criticizing this whole Moon Pact thing. I also don't believe in it, but I don't want to criticize a lot because I understand its potential. I can see what they are trying to do. And with where the country is right now, anything can happen in 2024, man. I don't want to lie. Anything can happen in 2024. So, guys, I'm going to play with this interview from Newsroom Africa again, but this time they are talking with the ANC spokesperson, I think, and they are talking about the whole Moonshot Pact thing, man. So let's hear what the ANC thinks about multi-charter party. Or it's multi-party charter. Oh, guys, this thing, it is going to be so hard. I wonder how people in our townships are going to familiarize themselves with the whole multi-charter party. Oh, guys.
See, spokesperson. I think I appreciate your time this afternoon. Now, what is the ANC's perspective on this Moonshot Pact?
One of the things that we've said earlier on, when speaking to members of the media, was to make an indication of the fact that, of course, in a democratic dispensation such as ours, any interest group or interest groups that come together for a singular purpose, unified around a set of ideals, has every right. And so we note and have got nothing to take away from the initiative that has been started by some of the opposition parties. We note that we are obviously less concerned about the Moonshot Pact, but more concerned about winning back the hearts and minds of South Africans and also mobilizing progressive across the world as well as here in our country for an outright win by the African National Congress come the elections campaign in 2024.
Hold it right there, lady. The ANC will never get an outright win, man. I know that I said the ANC, they still have support in South Africa, but they are not going to get an outright win in 2024. I've heard a lot of guys, especially from the ANC, the likes of Fikile Mbalula and all of these guys, talking about getting an outright majority in 2024. And I'm like, guys, where the hell are you living? Okay, granted that you might get more votes than other parties, but I don't think you are going to get enough to govern alone with anyone. I don't think so, man.
Now, this pact is being likened to the CODESA pact. What does it mean for you? What does this signify for you as the ANC?
And this is now in reference to the Moonshot Pact and the venue of choice. Is this the question where it's going, Hugo?
Correct.
Yes, no, we don't see it as a second CODESA. A second CODESA was very much inclusive. And it was a very painstaking process, for that matter, by an ANC-led liberation forces to take the apartheid system to a negotiation environment. So we do not see it as, in any case, emulating that kind of experience. It's a group of opposition parties that want to unseat the ANC and they've got every right to plan that way, but it certainly cannot be CODESA. CODESA negotiated the principles upon which it was going to meet. It had certain exclusions, but the spirit was to bring in every South African that had something to contribute. I certainly don't see it that way.
Mahlenga, you refer to them as just a group of political parties. Does this suggest that you are not worried, that you are not concerned about certainly the impact and the momentum that they could gather before?
I mean, guy, how many times must she tell you that they are not concerned about the Moon Pact? So are you going to ask one question over and over and over and over again? What's wrong with this guy? Hugo, what's wrong with you? She just said that they don't care about Moon Pact. She said that the only thing that the ANC cares about it's actually garnering enough support, enough South Africans to actually govern in 2024. She just said that, but you are going to ask him. You are going to ask her again. What's wrong with this guy, man?
For the next elections.
Well, it is a group of political parties. It's certainly not all the parties that exist under our democracy. So it is set in that spirit. But about concern, certainly the ANC, and like any other party that came into office on the basis of an electoral mandate given by the people of South Africa, has got to be concerned by anyone that wants to unseat it. We would be naive to simply dismiss it. But the point we want to make is the fact that the ANC itself is doing its own electoral work, mobilization work, is speaking to its own friends as well, and would also rely on the basis of our mobilization, which is something that we are the only party that has got the capability of the ANC to be on the ground, to speak to South Africans. And I think our focus is really winning back the hearts and minds of many of our South Africans as much as we can, explaining our story, both our successes and our failures, and accounting for those failures. That is where the...
And honestly, guys, I've always believed that if the ANC can come out and say that, guys, we are sorry, we have done 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and actually acknowledge their mistakes, a lot of people can give the ANC a chance. But for some reason, South Africans, they love the ANC, man. South Africans, they love the ANC. South Africans love the ANC. Like, it doesn't matter, man, what the party do. But if right now they can come out and say, okay, guys, this is what we have done, this is our achievements, and this is our failures, and we are working on our failures here, people are going to give them a chance. There's a reason why people have given ANC the chance over and over and over and over again. Because it is so hard for someone who voted for the ANC for such a long time to vote for another party. That is the only reason why the ANC is still here. And again, because the ANC, people can relate with the ANC, mainly because of the struggle, of the apartheid struggle. You know what they are going to do come 2024. They are just going to put Nelson Mandela in your face, man. And before you know it, all the elders in South Africa will be voting for the ANC. And knowing that South African youth, they don't want anything to do with the elections, it is going to be so hard for John Steenhuisen and Groenewald and Mashaba to actually get the votes. It is going to be so hard. That's why even with the EFF, some people have said that the EFF was supposed to be way far than it is right now, but mainly because the youth is not actually going out there to vote. It's actually costing the EFF. The ANC, they know where their base is, man. They know that their voters will vote for them. They know that they got a base, a solid base of people who will vote for the ANC any given time of the day. But all of these other parties, they have to come to the youth and actually make the youth interested in politics, which is something that is very hard. It is very hard in South Africa to get the youth actually activated in politics. The youth, they don't want to talk about politics. They don't want anything to do with politics. A lot of them, they are unemployed. They just want to get work so that they can provide for their families. They don't care about politics. And if you are a politician, you come to them and you tell them that, okay, guys, if you vote for me, this is what you are going to get. They're not going to vote for you because they know that those promises have been promised time and time again. So it has gotten to a point where South African youth, they don't want anything to do with politics, which is very dangerous. It is very dangerous because these young people today are going to be elders tomorrow, and they don't want to engage in political discourse. But the ANC knows where the base is. They know that all the people in South Africa, they love the ANC. They know that. That's why I'm saying that the ANC, they have a solid base. Their base is very solid.
The focus of the ANC's campaign is, and certainly not on the opposition, and this is the point I'm making.
Now, you talk about being the only party that has capacity to be on the ground and speak to the electorate about their challenges. But you will agree that some of these challenges, you don't have to speak to them about. It is clearly evident when we talk about service delivery, the unavailability of electricity. How are you dealing with those challenges ahead of the next election, particularly when you look at the fact that a number of political parties have now come together?
Yes, just ahead of the unveiling of our 2019 manifesto review process, Hugo, that takes place on the 2nd of September. This is where we're going to be detailing the different interventions that we have rolled out since 2019. We're going to speak about energy security. We'll speak about electricity and load shedding, for example. We will account for the changes that are being made or have been made and are starting to be felt in that environment, and I use that as an example. We'll talk about the social safety net in South Africa and the strides we've made in that regard. So there will be an extensive opportunity for us to come back to account to the people of South Africa on the basis of a research-driven approach that we're taking to that review of our 2019 elections manifesto. I do stress that I think our focus is really less about the Moonshot Pact than it is about speaking to South Africans. And I think it is important to continue to speak to South Africans and do. But it's important, it's been in our tradition to listen and even craft our manifesto based on having listened to the sentiments of our people. We'll be able to account about what the impact has been of extending access to energy to the poorest of the poor, the cumulative impact of that on the infrastructure in the grid. And so we would explain, not explain them away, but we will be able to explain those things to the people of South Africa and then to talk about measures that are in place and the future outlook.
And the ANC, they keep talking about they are going to do this, they're going to explain to the people, they are going to highlight the achievement to the people. I mean, like 2 weeks back, Mr. Mbalula was talking about the same thing. So I'm like, when exactly are you going to do that? When exactly are you going to do that? Because you keep saying that you're going to talk to the people about your achievements, you're going to tell them about your failures, you're going to acknowledge your mistakes and everything. But when exactly are you going to do that? Because the ANC have been talking about that for such a long time. So when exactly is the ANC going to be out there and allow the people to actually ask them questions? Because some of these guys, you know, the ANC mayors, they love calling these imbizos. The ANC mayors, they love calling these imbizos, but when after they give their speeches, they don't want to take questions from the people. That is one problem that the people really have with the ANC on the count, is that these guys will call a meeting and after their speech they are leaving. They don't want to talk. They don't want to take any questions and everything. So I wonder how the ANC is going to do that, man.
Do you think the people of South Africa will be satisfied with an explanation, or do they expect results?
The people of South Africa by right have got to expect results. But at the same time, I think the ANC has been known to connect, to do this thing that you are questioning, listening, and to internalize what the ANC is saying. And so I think it's a combination of all of that. But of course, results are the most important.
Now, how do you react to suggestions by ActionSA and UIM that there is the possibility of a super coalition between the DA and the ANC? Is that something on the cards?
It's not on the cards. I read a piece that was attributed to the leader of the opposition, suggesting that given the momentum around the Moonshot Pact, that the coalition.
But these guys, they should have come with they must come with an easy name, man. This whole multi-party charter, the Moonshot Pact, it's hard, man. It is not relatable. It is very hard.
With the ANC are going to be being reconsidered. And I must say, we know nothing about those coalition talks that is referred to.
The ANC yesterday visited King Misuzulu. Can you give us some insights into how that conversation went?
Great meeting, great reception by Silo Samabandla. The key theme that the ANC is using in these pilgrimages to institutions of traditional leadership, to faith-based communities, is about how we work together to advance social cohesion and tackle some of the stubborn challenges of poverty, including rural underdevelopment. And so it was quite a very useful meeting. We performed what is known as Water Silo, which is essentially to go and pay respects and to gift the Silo as a way of recognizing the centrality of his role among Amazulu nation.
Mashangu Bengu Mutsiri, ANC spokesperson, appreciate your time this afternoon.
So guys, what do you think about this whole thing, man? What do you think about Moon Pact shot? Do you honestly believe that the Moon Pact shot...
Like tonight's held in focus an ugly public spat between public enterprises.
Do you believe that the Moonshot Pact, they actually have a chance of winning the elections and governing South Africa? Or do you believe the ANC when they say that the Moonshot Pact is just a sideshow? So because I'm trying to find that video of President Ramaphosa when he talks about the Moon Pact short being just a sideshow. It literally shows you what the ANC thinks about about John Steenhuisen and whatever that they are trying to do. So where's that video, guys? Because Ramaphosa called it a sideshow. He said that he said Moon Pact is a sideshow. So guys, what do you think? Do you think that the Moon Pact, they've legit, they have a chance of actually governing South Africa? What are your thoughts on that? And how would you feel if John Steenhuisen is suddenly your president? How would you feel about that? How would you feel about John Steenhuisen being your president? Because honestly, guys, every time when we go to the elections, we must be realistic, man. Every time when you go to the elections, you must be realistic. I'm telling you, you must be realistic. Because people have this notion of thinking that going to the elections, South Africans are all sane, people are no longer going to vote for the ANC. The ANC, they've done so much crime. The ANC, they have done this, the ANC have done that. Like, I'm telling you guys. But come elections, people are still going to vote for the ANC. That is one thing that I know for South Africans, that come elections, people are still going to vote for the ANC. That's what I know about South Africans. South Africans are still going to vote for the ANC come 2024.
That want to, as they say, unseat the ANC. It's a sideshow to us. They're entitled to hold conferences, to do whatever. They will never be able to amass the support that the ANC has. This is solid support right across the country. There's no organization that has as much reach to the people of South Africa as the ANC has. And that is why we are confident in saying we are working for victory. So this issue of a defeatist approach that we are going to be in coalition is far, far, far off our thinking.
So guys, please tell me what you think on the comment section. Please don't forget to hit that like button, and the most important part, guys, please subscribe. My name is Thomas Mabaso, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.